My 22 male, GF 20 female, cheated on me with her ex last night. I want to try and move forward, but how do I do this? I've been dating my girlfriend for 10 months. For years, she and another man had been close friends. They did, however, date 3 or 4 years ago. It didn't work out, and they became friends as a result. He's been madly in love with her the whole time. He's informed her it's not a guess. I plainly didn't like it, and I stated my displeasure. But I didn't want to get in the way of my buddies, so I let it go. He became enraged when he found out we were dating and said that he didn't want to speak to her. They haven't spoken anything to one another. However, he accidentally paled her last night, and she messaged him. She had just gotten a new dog and asked him over. They just chatted for a few minutes before he departed. However, he returned a little later and they played VR. She said she was going to bed at 10 o'clock, so I bid her goodbye. Because I suffer from anxiety, I texted her at 11 a.m. to see whether she was awake. I was lonely today since we didn't text much. She reacted by stating she was feeling a little better and adding, "I love you," and then she didn't say anything else. "I love you," I texted her. "Hit some rest at midnight," to which she answered at 1 a.m., "I'm going to try." I was sleeping at midnight, but she wasn't. At 6 a.m., she contacted me to see whether I was awake. She phoned because, of course, I wasn't. She was clearly distraught and in tears. I kept telling myself what had occurred. She said that she needed to speak with someone before revealing that her buddy had remained the night, as they used to do when they were younger. He kissed her, she claimed, and she kissed him back. I know garments were removed, but she claimed they had no other effect. He touched her everywhere except the bottom. She's having her menstruation. My whole existence feels as though everything has been flipped upside down. I'm furious as hell, yet I still don't want it to stop. I'd want to give her a second opportunity. An ex with whom you still have emotions is both a temptation and a potential disaster. I'm not going to make an explanation for her. She's made her decision, yet I still want to remain. At least for the time being, I'm at a loss on what to do. Could someone please assist me? Please tell me what you did. Please give me some advice. Please give me anything. Please. Story 2. Cheated on by ex years ago and feel like it still affects me today. I'm a 25-year-old man, writing this to maybe get it off my chest. So, in the spring 2015 semester, I met my first girlfriend at university. I was 19, she was 18. I never had a girlfriend before, obviously, and had only had one relationship previously, my first FWB, whom I'd met just a few months prior. I should clarify that I'm autistic and have always struggled with socializing and meeting new people. I met her on Tinder and we got out a few times and had a good time. The third time we went out, things became, but she began weeping since it was impromptu and we didn't have condoms. She was terrified she'd wind up like a friend who had a child and wasn't prepared for it. A few years later, I realized I was infertile and couldn't have children. But in any case, we came to a halt at that time, and I'm not sure what occurred today, but we began dating. We had a lot of fun doing things together and having throughout the final couple months of the semester. At the conclusion of the semester, I returned home. My school was in the Los Angeles region, so it wasn't too far away. We had promised not to see anybody else that summer, so we were largely on the same page and had established ourselves as significant others, or so I thought. She ended up with one of her former FWBs that summer. We went together a few times throughout the summer, and that's when she began displaying some of her poisonous characteristics. As someone with autism who had limited experience with women, I was naive and assumed that this is how relationships operate. Back then, she would just withhold in order to get what she desired, or to force a change in me. I was glad to be learning more social standards, and although I knew it wasn't the ideal method to learn, I liked her and didn't think much about it. I should also say that I was always jealous of how much more experience she had and that she experienced it in high school. The next semester, we returned to university, and more toxic circumstances emerged, which I was too ignorant to recognize as poisonous. Most of the arguments we had and other unpleasant events I was furious about I don't recall, since my mind has a defensive mechanism that filters my recollection of details for terrible things. I'll recall something that occurred and an emotion I had as a result of it, but I can't remember precisely what happened or sometimes anything at all. One thing I recall her doing is making fun of my size. I now know I have an above-average size, but I think she was accustomed to BBC. She was African American with some Asian and I'm Caucasian, and would make compliments on my size, particularly while soft, I'm a grower, not a shower. Anyway, after a time, she began to become more emotionally abusive, and I couldn't recall any particular specifics that raised any worries. So, with my confidence fading and a sense that something was wrong but being too ignorant to know what, I began chatting with other females online. Nothing came from them, but my girlfriend found out and accused me of cheating on her. Technically, yes, it's emotional infidelity, and broke up with me, but not before beating me. This was the first of many physical abuses she'd inflicted on me. I attempted, like an idiot, to apologize and win her back. We had lunch and she informed me she had with her FWB over the summer in order to harm me, even though she claimed it wasn't cheating since we weren't legally boyfriend-girlfriend, despite our agreement not to see anyone else. I still wanted her back like an idiot since she had damaged my already poor self-esteem, and I feared I'd never find anybody else. Long story short, we were together on and off for another semester, breaking up and getting back together for various reasons, and throughout she was emotionally and physically abusive. She punched me in the at least twice during the relationship and hit me in various other ways at other times. But we were together again during winter break. She was still in her dorm when I returned home. One of her high school pals asked if he might stay with her in her dorm for a while. To her credit, she did ask, and I agreed since I had erroneously trusted her. Though that night I had a feeling something wasn't right, because this guy had a reputation in high school for, I kid you not, taking out his giant and plopping it on other students' tables, and no one reported him, and he never got in trouble because they were like, oh, that's just his name. That's just how he is. I didn't understand how he never got in trouble, but my girlfriend had told me that previously. I FaceTimed her a few nights later and performed her favorite song on the piano. I didn't think much of it until she began weeping. But when I returned to university the next semester, she informed me that the night that man left, he essentially encouraged her to have with him by saying something like, "I cheated on her before, so she may as well with him," or something along those lines. So she had with him, but then she felt bad and urged him to stop. Because of her remorse, she supposedly began weeping on FaceTime at that moment. As an idiot with my shattered self-esteem, I felt I'd never get anybody else and attempted to make it work. I ended things with her about a week afterwards. But I became lonely and let her back into my life for the last time. After a few months, I had had enough and told her in a dispute that I had cheated on her with someone else simply to hurt her. I hadn't, but in my mind it would be the end of the relationship forever, and we broke up for the last time. She then went on Twitter and said derogatory things about me, such as, if anybody wants someone with a little and is eager to be banged, take my ex, among other things. I didn't find out about it until later, and to her credit, she agreed that it was nasty and took it down when I told her it wasn't cool. I subsequently heard that when we split up, she immediately went to another man she met at work a few weeks previously, and they were Facebook official the following day, so she was most likely cheating again. Even though she stated her new partner set the relationship status to that day the next time we spoke, it wasn't posted until much later. I honestly didn't believe her. In any case, I'm pleased I had that connection because it taught me a lot about social conventions, pop culture, and racial problems, as well as how I shouldn't be treated by others. Although it took me a long to grasp how poisonous it was, I just wish it hadn't persisted for about a year and a half of my life on and off. While my self-esteem has improved, it is still affected by her emotional abuse, among other things she did and said, and I still have a strange sensation about being cheated on in relationships. I have the feeling it's going to happen, even though there's no evident cause for it. And a strange part of me nearly gets off by imagining being cheated on and how I would respond. Maybe because I clearly did not respond appropriately to the cheating. I'm not sure.